your comments originally about the Lance situation, and that's obviously intriguing, especially here at Bloomberg. So I guess you see him as as Bernie Madoff on a bike. Is that is that a fair comparison?
I was trying to think of sort of a quick way to condense all the evidence and implications of this level of betrayal of trust, and that's how it struck me. Yes.
I mean, can you just talk about that? How significant is this? I mean, can you think of anything else in your memory that compares to this in the sporting world or another world?
Well, I think that you go back to Pete Rose, and it took him 14 years to figure out what everybody else figured out in the course of 2 or 3 months as the evidence began to pile up, and Armstrong's operating on that with that same level of sort of fogginess in terms of reasoning. I think it's the level of self-absorption that, and frankly the mean-spiritedness with which he has defended himself and castigated others over more than a decade makes an impression that's not that's pretty bleak for the human spirit.
When you compare him to Bernie Madoff, what are some of the attributes there? I mean, that specifically, came to mind or made you think of Madoff? I mean, it's certainly a different situation. I mean, people were lured in by Madoff's money and maybe by Lance's stardom. But what do you think about that?
Well, I think in both realms you're looking at a betrayal of trust. Now, Madoff's had you could put a literal dollar value on Madoff's, and if you look at the work of the Livestrong Foundation and the other ways that Armstrong was a symbol for people who really needed a symbol, I think there's some decent parallels there. One could argue that that the money losses with Madoff are more significant, but there are people fighting cancer who looked at Armstrong as as an inspirational figure, so they were dealing in a realm more significant than merely money, and so to a tarnished hero is sort of a double damnation, because people look for a need, and the media often provide people who are deemed to be heroic figures, and then when that gets stood on its head, there's really quite a loss there.
Is there anything he could say during this Oprah Winfrey interview that have you thought about that?
Yes, I've thought about it a lot. One of the things that's come up as I've looked at this is the Michael Milken case, and for all of the harm that he caused, he paid his price. I mean, he went to the slammer, and he came out, and then he did something really different. Or you can go back to Chuck Colson and Watergate. If given the level of things that have happened here, talk alone is not going to solve it, because every word that's come out of his mouth for more than a decade has been a lie. So there's not he cannot talk himself out of this. If he were to clean up his legal act, which I frankly think is impossible given the tens of millions of dollars that have been essentially fraudulently taken in this process, he needs to actually do something. I mean, go, work in India or work in the inner city, or do an active sort of penance that isn't simply lip service to an attempt to reestablish yourself as a good human being, but would be genuine evidence of that. Like Chuck Colson with his prison ministries, or Michael Milken in his support of medical research. But Lance Armstrong has, the only thing you can know for sure about Lance Armstrong in the course of all of this is that he's really fond of Lance Armstrong.